What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool transfer news video. And Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Liverpool will push to sign Dean Huijsen, and David Lynch, who has sources inside Liverpool Football Club, has confirmed that Dean Huijsen could be the first transfer of the summer transfer window and the first proper transfer of Arne Slot's regime, because David Lynch said that Liverpool only need to trigger the £50 million release clause of Dean Huijsen, so could save a lot of time. We don't need to negotiate with his club Bournemouth, and Dean Huijsen is dubbed as the next Van Dijk. He's the next up-and-coming world-class superstar in the making centre-back. So we will look at all the details and Dean Huijsen's statistics this season and his attributes, and we will also talk about the curious case of Darwin Núñez and his add-ons could be the reason why Darwin Núñez won't start another game for Liverpool this season. So that's an interesting story coming in the second part of this video. So if you enjoy these videos, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on the bell notification so you never miss the latest updates around Liverpool FC. So Liverpool will be there in the race to sign Dean Huijsen according to Fabrizio Romano, and he has confirmed this on a podcast. And adding another centre-back could be a priority for Liverpool because Joe Gomez is injury prone, Jero Kwanzaa is not really fancied by Arne Slot, and we can't just go with Konate and Van Dijk in most of our games next season. We need a proper centre-back who could one day take over from Virgil van Dijk. So Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Real Madrid are unconvinced and that Liverpool are in pole position to sign Dean Huijsen. Fabrizio Romano said, "I'm hearing that internally at Real Madrid they still have not decided whether they want to sign a centre-back or not in the summer and how much they want to spend. They have Raúl Asensio at the club who is doing very well. That's why Real Madrid are not so convinced about Dean Huijsen, not about Huijsen, but about signing a new centre-back in the summer. This is why the timing is helping the English clubs." So Liverpool will be there, Arsenal and Chelsea as well. The release clause is £50 million, so the negotiation is on the player side basically. I'm sure that all these three clubs will push and push again in the next days, weeks to try and reach an agreement with Dean Huijsen and his camp. And Dean Huijsen already played 27 games for Bournemouth, who are having a really good season, and they could qualify for Europe if they finish 7th or 8th place in the Premier League. He has a pass accuracy of 84%, which is pretty decent. He also makes almost one and a half tackles per 90 minutes and also 7.2 clearances. And he also played more than 2,000 minutes in the Premier League. So he is coming, hopefully, to Liverpool as a Premier League proven player. This 50 million release clause is a relatively reasonable transfer fee for a young player who is already making his mark and who is already flourishing in the Premier League. So it will be a huge shock if Bournemouth are able to keep him. I think he is going to leave because he has already talked about going to a bigger club and challenging for Champions Leagues and titles. And Huijsen, described as sensational by football analyst Ben Mattinson, he has taken England by storm, even though he is very, very young. And Sam Maguire, who is an expert when it comes to Liverpool data analytics and the way that Liverpool pick out transfers, and Dean Huijsen could thrive in a Liverpool pairing with Virgil van Dijk. He's saying that Jurgen Klopp valued aerially dominant defenders, and the high press that Liverpool looked to utilize, the high defensive line, needed centre-backs who could rappel everything. If the opposition knew an outball was onto a physical striker, the entire team would collapse. So that's why Liverpool need very good aerially dominant players. Dejan Lovren was 65% all-in-one, 65% of his aerial duels. Virgil van Dijk, for most of his career, had 75% success rate, but last year it was 81%. Joao Matip was always around 70%, but before his injury, he was winning 90% of his duels before the 2019-20 season. Konate's worst campaign for Liverpool was his debut season, where he was just winning 64% of his aerial duels. Since then, he has a success rate of 73%, so almost as good as Van Dijk. But compared to other centre-backs, under Jurgen Klopp, Joe Gomez was the weakest in the air. He only won 60% of his duels, which is not great, not terrible as the meme goes. For Arsenal, for example, Arsenal duo Gabriel and Saliba, who are also dubbed a great centre-back partnership, they only win about 60% of their aerial duels. So this just highlights how important this particular trait was for the centre-backs under Jurgen Klopp. But Arne Slot values physicality, and he has shown this season that there is something more valuable to him in defense. The ability to play out from the back. And Dean Huijsen is absolutely perfect for that role. It's why Arne Slot opted to use Ryan Gravenberch at centre-back at times this season, even when he has had defenders at his disposal. There is a time and place for physicality, and you do need defenders to dominate. But if Liverpool have 70% possession, they are looking to build through the middle and final third. They need players who know what to do with the ball. That's why I think Jarrell Kwanzaa could be sold, because he's not great on the ball. His passing range is nowhere near as good as Konate or Van Dijk. And also, Dean Huijsen's best attribute is playing out from the back. Of course, with Trent Alexander-Arnold missing for like 6 weeks, there has been more focus on how Liverpool build out from the back. Konate is decent at pinging passes and diagonals out from the back. He isn't yet confident enough to fire passes between the lines. When pressed, he lacks composure. He doesn't look comfortable having to play into the middle third, and that's fine. He's brilliant at doing a lot of other things, but other things might not be as valuable to Arne Slot. So there aren't many unicorns out there. There aren't many players who can be a playmaker of sorts while also dominating physically. And if you have to sacrifice one thing, it would be aerial dominance, especially with Van Dijk staying. So that's where Dean Huijsen could come in, because his aerial duel success rate is nowhere near as high as Konate or Van Dijk. But, he still won 2.7 aerial duels per 90 minutes. This new criteria for a new centre-back might focus on their use of the ball. And this could be why Dean Huijsen is so high on Liverpool's transfer list. He injects tempo into the passing. He helps his team get from the middle third into the attacking third with safe but progressive passes. And Liverpool need that if they are losing Trent Alexander-Arnold, especially if the plan isn't to add a midfielder due to the overhaul required elsewhere. We need a new striker, we need a new left back, a new right back, a new centre back. So Liverpool might focus on these positions. And of course, Dean Huijsen needs to improve aerially, but that will come because he's only 20 years old. It isn't a given that just because he's tall and young means he will improve. There are no guarantees. But with experience, he will improve some aspects of his game, that's for sure. And of course, as a kid, Dean Huijsen was very tall, so he coasted through games. So he won many aerial duels, but you need to focus on timing when you get to senior football. And right now, he's winning just 60% of his 4.5 aerial duels per 90. For Roma last season, he was winning 56%, so already he improved at Bournemouth. For context, Konate's lowest aerial duel success rate was 66%, his highest was 82% for Leipzig. But Konate had the proven record of being an aerial demon. Huijsen doesn't, so to assume he will just improve with age is naive. Don't bank on that improving, just bank on him being brilliant in possession. With that in mind, focus on what he's good at and figure out how to hide his weaknesses. And Van Dijk right now will do a good job of that. But Dean Huijsen will not be the replacement of Van Dijk. We need a more aerially dominant centre-back to be signed in the next 2 or 3 years. And Liverpool have a huge chance to beat Real Madrid in his Dean Huijsen race, because Richard Hughes has had a terrific couple of weeks by sealing the contracts of Van Dijk and Salah. And if Richard Hughes can beat Arsenal, Chelsea and Real Madrid to the signature of Dean Huijsen, that would be another piece of excellent work. So let's hope Richard Hughes can pull it off. But David Lynch said that Liverpool could complete this Dean Huijsen transfer quite early. Last summer, it took until August the 27th for Liverpool to finally make a transfer. And that was an agonizing wait. And Liverpool fans basically all summer long were, waiting for a transfer to be done. And, the squad didn't need a lot of work. Arne Slot and Richard Hughes realized that. And also, it was quite brave for the new manager not to really ask for too many transfers. And with this pretty much unchanged squad from last season, Arne Slot is cruising to the Premier League title, which is absolutely fantastic. And David Lynch said that Liverpool could sign Huijsen quite early this summer. The biggest spanner in the works could be Real Madrid, he said, and by all accounts they would be the player's preference. Because obviously he represents Spain, he would love to play for Real Madrid, but it doesn't seem at the moment like they are gonna follow up on their interest. That could leave Liverpool with a bit of a free run. And I think there is no doubt that if they do get to do that, Dean Huijsen would be a very smart signing. From everyone you speak to, this is something that's gonna be resolved quite early in the window. So maybe we won't have to wait too long to find out if he's gonna be a Liverpool player. But he's a very interesting potential target, for sure. So that's very, very good news. And if Richard Hughes manages to wrap up this Dean Huijsen deal early, it would mark quite a contrast from last year when Mamardashvili and Chiesa were signed only on the last week of the transfer window. But with Real Madrid finding a gem of a centre-back inside their ranks in the Real Madrid youth teams, Raul Asensio, they might not go for another young centre-back. They need probably funds to sign other players. And Dean Huijsen, even though his aerial duel success rate is not great, he excels at many of other core defensive aspects of his game, and his expansive passing range is one of the best in the game. And at 20 years old, he's hardly at his peak, and he hardly has reached his full potential. And with time and experience, and with development under an elite coach, an elite manager like Arne Slot, I think Dean Huijsen can go up another 1 or 2 levels. If Liverpool could land Dean Huijsen in the early weeks of this transfer window, it would represent a strong statement from Liverpool that they are not prepared to rest on their laurels just because Liverpool won the Premier League title. We haven't won it yet, but we are 1 win away, and I hope that it comes against Tottenham. And now let's talk about Darwin Núñez, because this is an interesting new theory that Liverpool paid an initial £64 million for Darwin Núñez in 2022 when we signed him from Benfica, and we had another couple of a few add-ons and bonuses in this transfer, and that was totaling 21 million plus on top of the 64 million. So if all the add-ons are triggered, Darwin Núñez could cost Liverpool 85 million. But Núñez has only started 1 Premier League game since the beginning of January, and reports from Portugal explain a theory as to why that might be the case. According to Tuesday's print edition of A Bola, which is one of the biggest Portuguese newspapers, Benfica have already received 10 million euros of the add-ons from Liverpool. But they could receive another 5 million euros if Darwin Núñez makes his 50th start in the Premier League. He's currently on 14-9. So maybe Darwin Núñez was told this, and that's why he has fallen out with the Arne Slot, or maybe that's why he has been in and out of the squad, but he has been on the bench in a lot of games. And I don't think Darwin Núñez warrants a start. He hasn't really performed in a way that deserves a start, but it still feels a little bit harsh on him that because of these money reasons Darwin Núñez won't get another start at Liverpool. But I think Arne Slot has pretty much given up on him. Darwin Núñez has pretty much given up on his Liverpool career. He had more than enough time to show what he can do, and he just failed miserably this season. Sadly, he had a terrible campaign in front of goal. He only scored 7 goals in 1,900 minutes. Last season, he scored 18 goals in 3,000 minutes. So that's 50% more game time and 100% more goals. But it looks like Darwin Núñez not starting is not just down to his performance, but because Liverpool don't want to pay another 5 million to Benfica, and I can understand that. Of course, for Liverpool, saving 4 million is not a huge amount of money, but it's still a significant amount of money that could add to the summer transfer kitty. And if Liverpool were planning to keep him for another campaign, that surely we would start Darwin Núñez. But because we are already decided that we will sell Darwin Núñez, it doesn't really make sense to start him, because we don't want to keep developing him further. We don't want to give him more chances, more experience. he is going to be sold, and him starting and maybe banging in a couple of goals don't really move his transfer value up that much, so I think it makes sense. But David Lynch warned that Liverpool shouldn't make the situation turn sour with Darwin Núñez. He said there is going to be a lot of players whose futures are up in the air, like not just Núñez, but Tsimikas, Joe Gomez, possibly even Endo, Federico Chiesa. For some reason, Arne Slot just doesn't fancy him, watching him training every week. And you can't really criticize Arne Slot for that, because he's going to win the Premier League title, so we should trust his judgment. I expect Darwin Núñez to leave in the summer window, David Lynch said. Núñez's form, attitude and the off-the-pitch noise pointing to that, it feels inevitable. You don't want this situation to turn sour, but you are just hearing little stories like this. It makes you a little concerned. They need someone who is ready at the highest level, at the striker. You've gone through that project forward and it's not worked out. So maybe Liverpool will go for the finished article like Alexander Isak, which would be very, very exciting. Liverpool got a lot of PSR headroom. They are in really good shape financially to do all this. Just spend smartly again. Find another Alexis McAllister, find another Ryan Gravenberch. I had another conversation on Friday that kind of convinced me that this is going to be that big summer David Lynch revealed. And, you know, a starting centre forward and a left back are the clear priorities, but if Trent leaves, then signing a right back is also important. If Konate goes, you are dragging someone out of the starting 11. Dean Huijsen is not in Konate's class at the moment, but he could be an early transfer that Liverpool go for. Liverpool need more creativity with Trent going. We are not signing Kevin De Bruyne. Physically, he's an absolute million miles off it, and he will not be a Liverpool player next season. And David Lynch also said that, you know, both Van Dijk and Salah are absolutely loving it at Liverpool. And to keep your captain, the best centre-back in the world, is huge, without a shadow of the doubt. And also they are on good money and they are in a team that is winning, so Liverpool didn't have to make too many like huge promises to Van Dijk and Salah to keep them. And that's it for today's video. Really hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. See you later. Goodbye.